with Neil Adams. Oh, there we go.
We are live. Live as live can be. Live. So we are. Welcome, geeks, for a Geeky Weekly show. Yeah, you wouldn't call it a show. It's just some bloody just old farts talking, really. And we're joined by Scott. Hello, Scott.
Hello.
The legend that is Scott Harris.
Thanks for having me.
So
Yeah.
Hey, Scott.
I've watched quite a lot of the videos.
So do I do any kind of introduction?
Yeah,
do
can
I
you introduce Scott for us, please? Carl?
Yeah. So for those that need to know why I even know Gray Man, it's that silly side up in the corner right there. Scott brought me into this fold, and like I was about to tell right before this came on, it's a 50-50 split on why I even have a YouTube channel, between my wife telling me get something and to kill your time, and being part of Scott's channel, constantly commenting on his videos. And I'm like, well, I'm going to follow Scott's lead and I'm going to pop on YouTube. So anybody out there who wants to kvetch about my idiocy and my vapidness on YouTube, blame him. No, don't blame him. I'm an idiot because I'm an idiot, but
you've got a lot to answer for, mate.
Yeah, but I'm on YouTube because of Scott. I'm introduced to Gray Man because of Scott. Hence the reason I know Mark through Gray Man. Now Bill and I go back a few years otherwise.
Probably 5, maybe 10 at least.
Yeah,
a long time.
And
yeah,
Scott's got these incredible. I almost said intellectual properties. Scott's got these incredible
public domain.
Said it 10 times today, and I'm done brain farting. Public domain comics. He took over some public domain comics, and he's put his own spin on it, and he's kickstarted up numerous issues, which he'll obviously show. He's taken these things in new directions, further down the road than what they were, a new twist on them. Well, it's public domain. Anybody could do it. But he took Uncle Sam in a direction I can't wait for him to talk about. That's, again, I'm not going to steal the thunder there. But I cannot hype this kid enough. Massachusetts' finest. What a nice guy, great guy. Joining the company of Hillary Barta, J.M.D. Mateus, Tom Mandrake, and Rafael Neves. Yet another great comic book creator. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Harris King.
Well, thank you very much, and I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I wasn't able to, as you know, I've been sick for a while, so I planned to be on a while ago, and I just haven't been able to make it because I've been sick, but I'm feeling better now. I appreciate the introduction. I do have I have a lot of comics I've been working on, and I'm just about to launch my 8th Kickstarter. So it'll be the 8th comic that I put out, and I do work not exclusively with public domain, but right now mostly with the public domain characters. I guess this is a good time to start a little bit of show and tell, because let's see if I can find it in my big pile. I brought all the cool stuff to show you guys. Back in about 2008, I started branching out in comics. And I started branching out into Golden Age books. And the first Golden Age books that I got were 6 issues of Boy Comics, starring Crime Buster. And I just love Boy Comics. Here's Boy Comics number 3. This is the first issue of Boy Comics from 1942. First appearance of Crime Buster. And I ended up putting together a complete run of Boy Comics. All 117 issues from 1942 to 1956.
What were the first 2 issues, if they weren't Boy?
I was just like, I wish the series had continued to go because I love the character so much. And that's when I realized, well, he's in the public domain. So I could just do it myself. So if I want to keep doing it myself, and that's where the series of Crime Busters sort of came about. I think Kyle was just showing that.
So what were those first 2 issues, Scott? What was it originally instead of Boy?
The first 2 issues were Captain Battle Junior. It actually says, I think it's yes, just Captain Battle. So way down here at the bottom, I'm not sure you can read that, but down at the bottom it says here, successor to Captain Battle Comics.
Wow.
And so the first 2 issues were Captain Battle. It gets a little confusing because after this came out, a different publisher actually picked up Captain Battle and put out like issues 3 and 4. So that gets a little confusing, but yeah, the idea behind Boy Comics is basically let's have a comic where instead of just having boy sidekicks, let's have a comic where all of the main characters are boys. So the main characters, the heroes in all of the strips in Boy Comics were all boys between like the ages of 7 and 14. And the main one was Crime Buster. And since he's a boy himself, it didn't make sense to have another boy sidekick, so they gave him a monkey sidekick. That Squeaks the monkey.
Hey, I've got that on this channel.
So yeah, anyway, I ended up doing Crime Busters. I think Kyle already showed. This is the second print of the first issue.
So when you say
what I did was I actually picked up the continuity from the original series. So at the end of the series, Boy Comics in the late 50s, they did a really interesting thing where they could see that the comics code was coming, and they couldn't actually even call the character Crime Buster on the cover anymore because they couldn't use the word crime. And so they could see what was about to come. So they had this storyline where all of a sudden Crime Buster, who had been assisting like the FBI and the DA's office in all these cases, they basically called him in and they're like, well, we can't really have you doing that anymore because you're just some random kid. Right. So if you want to have a job with us, you need to actually get a degree and take the civil service exam, and then you can become like an actual police officer or something. So in issue 107, he stops being a crime fighter in the city and he goes off to college. And so from issues 107 to 119, he's at college and he's still having these crazy adventures where he's like flying to the Amazon and things like that, or like there's a crime ring that has a gold mine that they found in the woods behind the college or stuff like that. But it's a very sort of different feel to it. And so that's where I basically picked up with Crime Busters. I picked up the continuity right at the end of issue 119. My series is set in 1950s and 1956, and it just continues the story. Let me see if I can find them. I was originally just going to call it Boy Comics and just continue the series. And for marketing reasons, I decided I guess I should probably call it something else and, start the numbering over. But for myself, every issue I put out a Boy Comics variant covers with the original logo and the original numbering.
Nice.
So
great.
here's issue 120 of Boy Comics here. And you can see I did this cover as an homage to the cover of Captain America Comics number 3. And I've continued that with each issue. So I've got 121, which is the second issue. And again, this is an homage cover. It's to Adventure Comics 70. I want to say 74. It might be 73. I think it's 74 with a Sandman cover. And I use other public domain characters, not just Crime Buster. So Yankee Long Ago, the character sleeping here, he was another character that had a backup strip in Boy Comics. And then here's the third issue, 122. And this was done, but the cover was done by a guest artist. Mark Svensson's a friend of mine who also has a complete run of both Boy Comics and Lev Gleason Daredevil, the original Golden Age Daredevil. And he drew this of a Crime Buster fighting his arch enemy Iron Jaw.
So have you brought Iron Jaw back? And
then 123, which I did as an homage to Joe Kubert. I did like his war comics from the 70s where they always had the Nazis were hiding and we as the reader can see them, but the heroes don't know they're about to get ambushed. So I did that kind of cover because Joe Kubert actually drew some of the Crime Buster strips right at the end of the series in the 50s. So he did like issues 115 and 116 and a couple of the late ones. So I did that as an homage. And I've got another one coming out with a new issue that's coming out. The Kickstarter's launching on Monday. I've got the issue 124, and that's an homage to a Gil Kane cover that I actually have here. I was going to show it later, but one of the comics that I brought out to show is just because I thought it was cool. I did an homage of the new issue to Gil Kane's classic cover for Rex the Wonder Dog, number 11, that has Rex fighting the dinosaur in front of the atomic explosion. I did a version of this for my new Boy Comics 124 cover, but instead of what Rex the Wonder Dog, it's Squeaks the monkey who's fighting the dinosaur. And there's the link to the Kickstarter. Again, it's going to go live on Monday. So that was sort of the origin of my my journey into doing the public domain comics and continuing. I just really wanted to continue the story. I wanted to read more Crime Buster stories, and the only way to do that really was to make them myself. So I just decided to do it.
So can I just, sorry, when you say you produce them, do you do the art, do you do the story, or do you just bring the people together to organize it? Do you do the art?
Sorry, I'm see Mark talking, but I can't actually hear him. Let me try.
See. Try it again, Mark.
Do you, when you say you brought it together, do you do the story? Do you do the art? Do you do both?
That's a great question. So these first 4 issues, I did everything on them, other than like this guest cover. I did the art. I'm not a great artist, so I'll say that up front. Like I draw in an Archie style, so it's a little more cartoony. But yeah, I did everything on all of these. With the new issue 5, I've hired an artist so I'm doing the writing and I'm doing all the publishing. I also do like the lettering and some of the coloring, the inking, really not the flats, but the inking. But I've hired an artist just because I have a storyline in mind. This is kind of building slowly. And the story's going to run 30 issues if I live that long. And that was the issue, is that I draw so slowly that I'm only able to put out like 1 a year. And so I hired a guy who can draw a lot faster. So I'm hoping to do 3 issues a year now. So I at least have a chance to finish the storyline before I keel over.
So are you utilizing Iron Jaw quite a bit?
Actually, I'm not. I do have plans for Iron Jaw. I have a new version of Iron Jaw that's eventually going to appear in the series, but he's not going to appear until the end of issue 8. So he hasn't shown up yet. He does factor into the story, because a lot of what I'm dealing with in these first few issues on a character level is Crime Buster sort of finally coming to terms with what happened to him, what happened to his parents. Because when I read the original series, one thing that was interesting is Crime Buster, he's like a Boy Scout. He's very, truth and justice, and he's very straightforward and even keel all the time, except when Iron Jaw shows up, and then he just sort of loses his mind and just becomes obsessive. And so I wanted to do that. So there's parts like in issues 3 and 4 where he's sort of he's having like nightmares about Iron Jaw and stuff. So he definitely factors into the story in the background, but he's not really in the main stories yet. And as I said, I'm gonna have a new version come out. When you read the original ones, like Iron Jaw died in issue 15 of Boy Comics. They brought him back in issue 60, but pretty quickly that version of the character turned into like a comic relief character by like issue 80. He was just comic relief and not funny at all. Like very much just terrible, like terribly lame jokes. So I wanted to sort of, in my continuity, I'm treating it as though there are multiple Iron Jaws. I want that original, really scary Iron Jaw to just be those 15 issues at the beginning without being ruined by the later stupid Iron Jaw. So I'm going to have a new Iron Jaw that sort of is more scary and brings the legacy back, but is a separate character.
Very cool. Very cool.
So, what sort of response have you had from fans of the original series?
I can't say I have a lot of readers yet. I'm slowly sort of picking up steam. The first issue, I've successfully funded them all on Kickstarter. So
yeah,
I can say from that perspective, it's great. My first issue, I had 53 backers, so it's not exactly a huge audience. By the last issue, I was up to 91, and I'm hoping to get over 100 this time. But I've gotten good response.
And how many do you print? Do you just print the number that you need for the backers, or do you print extra?
I print some extras. So theoretically, that's to sell at conventions. In reality, nobody at conventions buys any of these. They just walk by the table. But I print a few extras. So basically, I have multiple variant covers that I do, which is sort of marketing, but it's mainly just because I think they're cool. Like, I like to have fun with the different covers. So for instance, one thing I did was I created a new sort of partner for Crime Buster, who's like a female detective that works with him, just so we had someone to talk to, really. So I have like a series of variant covers that look like with her that look like the Nancy Drew book covers. This is also an homage to Detective 395, just sort of for my own entertainment. But so with my publisher, the printer that I use, they have a minimum print order of 25 copies. So since I'm doing these different variants, I have to print a certain number of copies because of that. And I have like for the boy comics and variants and these variants here, the boy comics, I think I've only printed 25 of each issue, except for issue 3, because my friend Mark, who did the cover, ended up ordering, I think, 45 copies for himself. So that one, there's a bunch of extras just because he wanted to give that out to his friends. But most of those, there's just 25, and I still have like 4 or 5 copies of each of them left, but I've just about sold out of all of them because there's such a small print run.
Yeah. Okay, that explains why I couldn't find any on UK eBay.
Yeah, there's none on eBay. I've been thinking about putting some up on my own eBay because I do sell on eBay. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But at some point I might. And the other thing I do that's not available on eBay is I do a Kickstarter exclusive variant covers. Covers you can only get if you back the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And I actually just started doing those again for my own entertainment because I wanted to have something that had the Crime Busters logo, but the original numbering.
Yeah.
Right? So like this is the first issue 120, which I did as an homage to the cover of Flash Comics 92. And the second issue I did as an homage to Planet Comics 71.
Wow.
And these are all like, these only have 25 copy print runs because I only sell them on the Kickstarter. This is the third issue. This is an issue where I sort of reimagined a character called Granny Gumshoe, and she appeared in National Comics back in the 40s. She was in issues 57 to 71, and she's like an old lady who's a detective. So I brought her back in issue 3. And this was the Kickstarter exclusive variant issue 4, which is the Marvel Superheroes Holiday grab bag from the Treasury size. So those all have a print run of 25. So because I have so many different variants, I usually end up printing like probably 125 copies. So it's like 25 of each of these and like 50 of the regular cover. But that's about it. Like they're very, very small print run.
So the money you raise on the Kickstarter, that purely pays for the printing, I presume. It doesn't pay you for all the work you put into it.
Correct. So like I've done the first year I lost a lot of money because it was just all startup costs, like the cost of registering the website, and I trademarked Crime Busters, which I may or may not have had to do, and just the drawing tablet. So I lost a bunch of money just setting up how to do it.
Yeah.
And since then, every year I've come very close to breaking even, but I've still lost money. So And this
So
year,
it's not the day job then.
no, I mean, I'm hoping eventually to get to the point where I'm at least breaking even and maybe making a little bit of money. But like, my biggest Kickstarter was for the first issue of Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam, which I haven't talked about yet. But I brought in $4,200 in pledges. But after all the fees that they took out, and then the cost of printing and the cost of shipping, and then the cost to pay my artist, I made $40. And so like, just the annual cost of running my website is more than that. So like all of my Kickstarters except for my most recent one, I've made money, but I'm in the hole every year. I'm not making any money.
We're gonna fix that, dude. You need to be worldwide. You need to be printing a lot more than 200 of these. So
I appreciate it. I'm hoping, my hope right now is because I'm working with other artists that I have to pay. I'm just trying to do well enough on the Kickstarter to make back that money, and then so I can take the money that I get to pay them to draw in the next issue. So if I can get to the point where I'm just breaking even in that way, it's self-sustaining, then I can keep doing more comics. But in order to do this, I've ended up selling a bunch of books from my collection, but back issues, to raise the money. And it's I'm getting older, so there's only a certain, like, I'm starting to get to that point in my life where I'm like, I can't take these with me. I'm just sort of the custodian of them. So, sometimes you have to make the hard decisions, but like, I just sold my complete run of Strange Tales, the Doctor Strange issues. I had 110 up through 183, and I just sold them this week to pay to have pay an artist to draw a comic. So,
wow.
I've got some videos. Before I mailed them out, I did a video showing the whole run, so I would at least have that like as a farewell. But that's the sort of thing I've been doing, is deciding, okay, what do I really love in my collection, and what can I afford to get rid of? Because the way I think of it is, there's tens of thousands of those back issues around, but I can use that money to make a new comic that would not exist otherwise.
That's great.
That is awesome.
That's what I'm trying to do.
And just so you guys know, yes, I tried for a very long time to try and haggle him out of trading that Strange Tales 110. But I couldn't get him to trade it. He was going to flip it. And I was like, one more power to you, buddy. But, these guys.
Like, it's not really flipping if he's had it for years. But
it's not a flip if you've owned it for more than a year.
Right, and then I've done a $10,000 plus trade with Mark here. And Mark, you can thank Scott for that too, because the first genuine trade of substantial things, Scott and I were doing shoebox trades a couple of years ago, where it's like, hey, just like the stuff we did as teenagers, we're going to do shoebox trades, but they're bigger books. And Scott brought that out of me. So that last collection swap I did with you, his fault. Well,
it's too bad that I still don't have that 110 to show you before I sent it off, because it did have a good story with it. One of the reasons that I felt like okay with selling it is because of the story behind it. I had been putting together that run of Strange Tales for a number of years, and I gave up because I was like, I'm never going to have the money to buy a 110. So I just stopped putting the rest of the run together because I am a completist. And then in 2018, November of 2018, so just 4 years ago, I was at a convention right by my house, and I had a table at the convention to sell my Crime Busters, right? And before the show opened, the guy at the table next to me had all these dealers coming over to look at his bins. And I was like, I wonder what's going on over there. Let me just take a look. And I went over, and there was one box that none of the other dealers were looking in. I started looking, and a couple issues in was a Strange Tales 110. Now it's very, very crusty, like a lot of tanning, even a little bit of brittleness in the edges. So it was like a 1.5, maybe a 1.8, but it was all there, complete, staples attached. So I pulled it out. I was like, I just got to ask how much, and he was like $10. So So I paid him $10 and I grabbed the book and I ran it over and I hid it in my table so none of the other dealers could see what I just did. Because and then I went back and looked for more stuff. And I ended up buying. The only other thing I got from was the Strange Tales 169 with the first Brother Voodoo for $5. But it was $10 for the Strange Tales 110, and I was like, holy. So once I got that, then I was like, okay, it's back on. And then I bought the rest. Then I finished the rest of the Strange Tales run. So I actually just finished that run like less than a year ago when I got the 111 was the last one I was missing. But I was like, well, it was really cool to have it, but I only paid $10 for it. So I guess, I don't know, but that was a great moment in collecting for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you made slightly more than that on your return.
Yes, I did.
That's excellent.
Did you get it graded?
I didn't get it graded. No, they were all raw, as they say.
And to think what he could have pulled out of my collection for it, but no.
Yeah, and it was similar with the other books. Like when I got the Doctor Strange like 169 up to like 174 or 175. I got all of them together, and they're all about around a 5.5 or a 6.
Yeah.
And I got them 10 years ago on the CGC forums, and the guy sold me the whole bunch of them for $5 each. So I only paid $5 for my 169, and I had a similar thing with a lot of low grade issues, including the 135 with the first Shield. I only paid $5 for that, and that was just less than 10 years ago. So I did not have much money in the collection, even though I love Doctor Strange. I was like, I can make something new with this, and I did. The first thing I did with the money is I bought the omnibus editions of all the Doctor Strange and the Shield, so I can read them whenever I want. So I just had those delivered today, actually.
Nice.
I feel like I'm dominating the whole conversation, and I'm sorry about that.
Dominated.
I do still have a couple things like I haven't talked about Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam, but before I get to this, I do want to show this because I think you guys will really appreciate it. This last year was the 80th anniversary of Crimebuster's first appearance. So what I did was I did a 100-page giant that I kickstarted that was reprinting a bunch of his Golden Age books, stories, including like his first appearance and a bunch of stories that influenced me. And so this has like 65 pages of Golden Age reprints, and then it has a reprint of Crimebusters 1, which originally was in black and white, but I reprinted in color because I wanted it to be just like the 100-page giants that always had that new story and then a bunch of the Golden Age reprints. But the part that was super awesome for me, I know Kyle knows this already, is my friend Mark that I've mentioned a couple times, who did that other cover for me, who also has a complete run of this stuff. I met him through Crimebusters because he's such a big fan of Crimebuster. He saw that first issue of mine, and so we've become friends. He had actually commissioned some original art back in the day from one of the original artists that worked on Crimebusters, and he allowed me to use it for the cover. So here it is. It's an original, never before published George Tuska Crimebuster fighting Ironjaw cover. I had this inked by Andrew Peepoy, who used to be the inker on Batman, and then I had it colored, and it was just so cool for me to have a George Tuska cover on one of my comics. So I just did the Kickstarter for this back in August, and it's just like I love having it. It's just, I don't know, as a fan, a lot of the things I do is just because I think they're cool and I want them for my own collection. But just, again, being able to have a George Tuska cover on one of my books is just so awesome.
Now, is he bequeathing you that original art in his will because you
I don't think so. I mean, what I did was I paid extra to, he let me use it for free, and I wanted to thank him. So I paid extra to get the Andrew Peepoy's original inked art, because he basically light boxed it up on an 11 by 17 page and inked it that way. And so I paid a little extra and had him send me that original art, and I gave it to Mark as a present, as a thank you for this. And he really liked it. He's actually was talking about having, because he has more. It's not, he has more commissions. He's got a lot of commissions, but he also at the same time had George Tuska do a Daredevil cover that I don't think anybody's seen. So he might get that done. You can see I also did a print, an 11 by 17 color print, but I only made 2 of those, one for Mark and one for myself to hang on the wall. I didn't feel like that was something I should be selling, since it wasn't really mine to sell, but it was just a lot of fun to do, you know.
You're a good egg, Scott. You're a good egg.
I do what I can.
I want one desperately, but I won't even try and haggle you out of one.
Well, at some point, I have a copy of the comic set aside for you to trade. I am hoping to get back into the trading sometime if I can just find like a week to just any time to do it.
I got a short box of comics just waiting for that trade book to open up again. So, and Mark will tell you, Mark, you know, I put my ASM4 up for trade and one set aside for you to go into it. Mark will tell you, Mark, is yours variant? Would you call that a 9.8 all day long?
It looks 9.8 to me, Kyle. I haven't done anything with it. I'm taking it in. I'm
He's
taking
about
it
to submit that to you
tomorrow, so we'll see. But I can't see anything. I just left it as you sent it, Kyle. It looks.
Yeah. And Scott's got dibs on my other one, so that's why I haven't traded the other one, because Scott's got dibs on my other.
Are we talking about the first Sandman?
No, the first Silk.
Doc Ock?
No, the first Silk. It's a modern book. It's a
I heard you say ASM 3.
Well, it's ASM 4, but it's the modern. It's
volume 9 or something.
All right, I'm too behind the times, man.
First appearance.
Too behind. Mark, quit laughing.
It's still, Bill. It's still. If it comes out at 9.8, it's still a $600 comic.
Oh, that I know. I'm not surprised. I know Silk is
Yeah.
very popular. I just haven't collected in the last, the new stuff in like the last 10, 15 years. So a lot of this stuff has just gone right over my head. Exactly.
And that's dropped in the last year or two. And if she's in the new movie, that's going to be $1,000.
It actually peaks at around 2.
Yeah. And it's going to peak. It's going to, she's in the other movie.
Yep.
So. There you go. I spread it around a little, Scott, so you didn't have to do all the talking.
No, I don't mind talking. I just want to.
Now, Graham, you had a question for him a second ago. Greg?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I was just saying, you get these sites that like do self-publishing. You just give them all the paperwork and they print up to order. Like Amazon does that, and there's various other. Have you thought like doing a compendium of all the issues that people can order just as they want, and it doesn't no overheads for you? Just literally put it up on these sites. People order it, they get them printed up, and sent off to them, and you get like a couple of pence on each issue or so. Have you thought about maybe doing a collection like that, or looking into it?
Yeah. So. Yes, for reasons I won't get into because it's long and weird. I can't use Amazon. I've had a dispute with them, and I can't do anything through Amazon.
No, I'm sorry.
There's like Kablam also does print on demand, where someone can just go to the website and order a copy, and they'll print it up and send it to you. I've thought about using them. I'm definitely going to do a collection. So like. Doing issue 5 of Crime Busters with Boy Comics 124, starting on Monday, the Kickstarter. When that's done, the next thing I'm going to do is a trade that collects the first 5 issues all in one book, and that's going to be like 200 pages.
Great.
Because these issues of Crime Busters are not short. The shortest issue I think is 34 pages, and the longest one's 38. So like they're long. Most of them are 36. So the 5 issues together, it's going to be like 200 pages of stories plus a bunch of bonus material. So I'm going to do a trade for that. And then eventually I'm hoping to do another trade for Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam, which I guess I could show you now. So here's Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam.
Hit him with the fun, because you're going to sell a couple of these issues.
This is the first issue. And it's basically, it's set in World War II. And the idea is that the Nazis are working with the cult of Cthulhu to try and summon Cthulhu to swing the balance of power in the war. And so Uncle Sam has to defeat Cthulhu and the cult. So these first two, I've got 2 issues. This is issue 1, and then this is the only copy of issue 2 that exists so far because it's still at the printer, but they sent me 1 physical proof to check. So I'm just waiting to get the rest of the copies back from the printer. So the second issue, this is so basically what I did was that character Granny Gumshoe that I mentioned, who also, like Uncle Sam, appeared in National Comics. She's like a steampunk sort of inventor. And so basically we find out in this issue that let me see if I can get this to the lights on it, that the Statue of Liberty is actually a giant mecha robot that they built to defend New York in case Cthulhu attacked. And so there's a big battle in this issue.
Wait, you mean she isn't?
She might be. I'm not saying she's not.
I'm guessing,
There's a big fight between Cthulhu and the Statue of Liberty here where her torch turns into a flaming sword.
That's wonderful.
And they fight it out. So the first 2 issues are both drawn by a guy named Jay Piscopo, who does a lot of Golden Age.
Oh, Jay's great
stuff.
Yeah.
We're both part of a couple online communities. Like on Facebook, there's a public domain superhero group that you may be familiar with, and Jay posts a lot of stuff there. Yeah. So Jay did the art for both of these and the regular covers. It takes place in the same world as the Crime Busters. You don't have to have read either direction because they're standalone stories. Because my issues take so long to put out, I try and make sure that every issue is a complete story, beginning, middle, and end. And then there's subplots that sort of build through them. So if you do keep reading them, but I want to make sure every issue is, satisfying in itself. So, but if you do read both, you'll eventually start to see that some of the stuff that happens here is kind of the backstory for mysteries that Chuck and Trixie are investigating 10 years later in the 1950s. And they don't necessarily know what the readers know because they're not privy to the stuff that happened in these issues. And so eventually they're going to tie in together a little bit more. Uncle Sam is going to appear in issue 6 of the Crime Busters, and we're going to see sort of what happened to him after the war. But otherwise, they're pretty separate things. I'm hoping to do at least a 3rd issue of Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam. I have a story plotted out for it, but I haven't really had time to get into it too much. I'm not 100% sure that Jay's going to be back for the 3rd issue, so I might have to find a different artist. I'm not quite sure what's happening with that. But I also do a bunch of variant covers for every issue of this.
Yeah, wait for this, guys. I cannot wait for you guys to see the variant.
So I do an Adventures into the Unknown variant where it has the original logo and numbering from Adventures into the Unknown. There's a guy by the name of Ryan Mendoza who works on a comic that I read called Miskatonic High, which is about a bunch of students at the high school at Miskatonic University. So he does a lot of Cthulhu stuff. So he does this series of variant covers for me. And so there's another one for issue 2. That's issue 176 that he drew the cover for that as well. I just like, bringing back these sort of Golden Age classic series. I also do.
There's the one I want right there. Oh my God, I want that autograph so bad.
Yeah,
that's beautiful, isn't it? Wow,
that's so bad.
And there's a Statue of Liberty in the background.
Yeah, there's a Statue of Liberty there. So this is this one I only printed 25 of. I did a little bit differently with Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam, where some of these covers I've stated up front before I printed them. I'm only going to print X number of them, so they're a little more limited. So this one there's 25, and then so for issue 2, again I don't have them to show, but I did a version of an homage to Fantastic Four #1, where the monster coming up out of the ground is Cthulhu instead of that, and it's Uncle Sam and Granny Gumshoe and a couple other newer characters.
But for a guy that hates the Hulk as much as you,
I'm not a fan of the Hulk. I just did a video that hasn't come out yet with my Hulk calendar from 1979 and the whole thing. I'm like, oh, look at this awesome art. It's too bad the Hulk's in it, but
Yeah, we had some muck monsters on the show yesterday too, and I'm like, oh, Scott just loved those muck monsters and the Hulk, and
yeah. And I do a couple other variants. I forgot to pull it out, but you can see it behind me. I have the Cthulhu Wants You poster where I took the Uncle Sam Wants You propaganda poster and I redrew it with Cthulhu, so it says Cthulhu Yaya Fatagan. And that's one you can get as a cover. I did a wrestling poster variant. And the new issue, there's a bunch of new variants as well, but I don't have, unfortunately, I only have the regular one. And then I had created a new character named Ike Reeves, aka the Lone Gun, who's sort of a hard-boiled private detective. He's the grandson of Bass Reeves, and he has like a 6-shooter from the a Colt that his grandfather passed down. So I wanted to do sort of a little bit of an homage to both Bass Reeves, but also the Lone Ranger, since he was the original inspiration supposedly for that. And that's a situation where I was originally going to use Ace Harlem, the public domain character who had appeared in All Negro Comics #1, but I decided instead to sort of make my own character for that.
so cool. The creativity that comes off you, dude, is amazing.
Thanks, I appreciate it very much, and I'm glad people seem interested because I talk to my wife about this all the time, and there's a certain amount of interest. But there's also,
how did I not know you sent me pictures? You got a new one coming out of just new stuff that you sent me those pictures, and I'm like,
yes, this is the new fantasy comic I'm working on. When I was a kid, I didn't actually read superheroes originally. It was all like Conan and Warlord and stuff like that. So I really want to do a fantasy comic. So this is a variant cover that I drew. Obviously, it's homaging Conan #1. And I've got
beautiful.
Yeah. We need to hook him in with Naaman because Scott's the only other Warlord completionist I know. Naaman, our friend Naaman, is a huge Warlord
I watched your review of Warlord, and Naaman, one of our mates, is a big Warlord fan.
Yeah, I love Warlord. Just one of the first comics I ever got was Warlord number 90. It was literally like,
wow.
I got 2 issues of Black Hawk. And then I didn't see any comics for several months just because I wasn't anywhere where they were selling them. And then the next time I was at a store that had comics, it was Warlord 90 and Thor 350. Those are the ones that I got. And Thor was how I got into superhero comics because I wasn't interested in superheroes. But as I was reading Thor as a fantasy comic in the Walt Simonson run, there were superheroes that were coming in. Like there was a crossover with the Fantastic Four and stuff during the Ragnarok. And that's how I became introduced to them. But originally, I was all kind of licensed properties and fantasy stuff. It was like Red Sonja and Micronauts, Star Wars, G.I. Joe.
And this is when you were like, what, 10, 12 years old?
Yeah, I was 10 when I started. Yeah. So it was all genre stuff, no superheroes for the first several months of reading. It took me a while to get into the superhero stuff.
And eventually we'll segue into his superhero stuff. And I know he flashed it a little bit backstage, but holy crap, his superhero collection for a non-really superhero collecting guy. Holy crap. So
yeah, it's getting a little smaller because, as I mentioned, I just sold the Strange Tales, and I know you knew I was doing this, but I finally just completed a sale of my my Marvel Spotlight #5.
Whoa!
Yeah, I wanted that one too.
Yeah,
Montreal Johnny's wish list, and he had 2 of the 3 of them.
My story for that one, I think I've told, but I'm maybe not because it's not exactly my proudest moment. It was a very mixed bag. I went to a convention in like 1990, right when the new Ghost Rider series, I think the first issue had just come out, and I loved it, and I immediately just went all in trying to get all the old ones from the 70s. And I went to a convention, but I made the mistake of not having any money. I only had $20. So I went to a convention with $20 and I brought a bag of stuff to trade. And that's a terrible idea. It's just like sitting down at a poker table without having enough money to do a full buy-in. You know, that you're going to lose. There's no way you're winning on that. So what happened was basically, I was still a kid at the time. I was 16, I think, but so I should have known better. But my frontal lobes hadn't fully developed. And I desperately wanted these Ghost Rider issues so bad, but I didn't have any money for them. And so this guy suckered me where I traded for a small pile of random Ghost Rider back issues, my Fantastic Four #5. Literally got like $30 worth of Ghost Rider back issues for it. But I had $20 in cash, and what I used that on was to buy a 7.0 Marvel Spotlight #5. So it didn't quite work out, but it almost worked out. Like I lost, I lost that book, which is probably the biggest mistake I've ever made in comics. But at the same time, I did get. So what I try and tell myself is that I traded the Fantastic Four #5 for the Marvel Spotlight 5.
Yeah.
That was not actually what happened, but it was very close to that. So if I hadn't spent the money on the Marvel Spotlight 5, I would have had it to buy those other ones. So, but it was tough to get rid of that. But I've already sold off the rest of my Ghost Rider run, except for I kept issues 62 to 81 because they're right at the end of that run where he's with the Circus of Crime and stuff. Those are great stories, and I wanted to keep those to reread. But I've already sold off all the rest of my Ghost Rider stuff, so reluctantly had to let that one go.
Yeah, now I'm gonna try and get you to trade part of your Avengers around Tim.
Oh, I'm not sure that's gonna ever happen.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you want to keep talking your own books? Do you want to segue into that? You want to take a break and listen to us shoot the cock and bull while you take a breather? What you want to do, buddy?
I kind of need to use the restroom, so maybe I'll take a break. I still have all of my crazy back issues to show you. And like I said, I brought out the good stuff, particularly with the romance books. But why don't you guys talk, and I'll use the bathroom. I'll come back and catch up with you.
All right. Coolio.
Right. I'm just gonna put myself on there.
He's muted out. So what do you think so far, guys?
Great.
Impressed.
I want all those comics he's just shown.
I know, right? Me too.
I want one of Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam so bad, but like he just talked about that, I don't have the cash to bank on, but I got the trade material, so I'm kind of hoping to trade some like that. He's tickled when I'll trade some nicer books and be like, well, if you need to catch up to my money, throw in a couple of your books, and take full value for that. So I'm gonna keep stocking up on him that way, but he's got a holy shit collection. You've heard what he's let go of.
Yeah.
And
when his stuff catches on, think about how much those 25 print runs are going to go for. It's not going to be pretty.
and he's the first to admit, the guy's a writer. He's a straight up writer. He's like me. He's a writer. I can doodle. I can do art, but I got to immerse myself in it. But I'm a writer. And I understand that, and he's the same way. He's an Archie style artist, but he's a brilliant flipping writer. I mean, the guy's got writing credits that are just ridiculous, and all over the place. Like you've heard of Looper and stuff like that. He's written for them.
Oh wow,
like that. But yeah, he would much rather outsource the art. For the quick, who I'd love to introduce him to is Tricky Trapster, local kid here, because I think Trick would do great with his artwork with him. But I don't know if the money'd go, if they'd have a bond or whatever. But I just like when I see people do these art things, and I see Nama do these art things, I'm like, oh well, I could plug him into Scott. I could plug that into Scott. But
right.
I like
that cover a lot. That really looks like the old stuff. I really like that.
I like that one as well. That was the favorite one I saw. Yeah.
And he conceives them. He's like, okay, I'm pulling it off of this, and he'll lay a conception out for the artist that he's commissioning to do it or whatever. But he's just got creative just springing out of different spots of his brain. He's got like 10 books written about one thing and 2 books over here written about another thing. and he's still keeping track historically of other stuff. So I could sit around and pick his brain for weeks on end. So that's why I couldn't wait to get him on the show, and I wanted to make sure, you know, we were set for the year before I got him in, because he was supposed to be here January 6th, and the poor sucker got COVID. It was like, dude, I ain't pushing you. Take your time to get on here, but it's important we get
I'm
you
so
on
glad
here.
you said that. For a second, you said January 6th. I thought you were going to say he needed to storm the Capitol, but that's another story altogether. I'm kidding.
That just
Kidding, folks.
happened to be
I'm
happened to be the first Wednesday of the year. That just happened to be the first Wednesday of the year. But you know, Scott's kind of reclusive, yet he's opening these things, and I want to drag him into all these communities because I want all these eyeballs to see it. I want all these people
good
to collect
stuff.
these
I'm
copies.
duly impressed.
So, and it just keeps coming. And his knowledge and the stories he's got jacking around with these pros.
Yeah, I need to get him to release. I need to get him to release those some of to me. So I'm happy to buy them from him so I can do a show, because I think it's you know, he should be doing bigger runs than 25.
The worst thing with the Kickstarter, because
again, Mark, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to try and finagle a deal for him to ship out stuff to Suddenly Comics for you to do that. And I'm going to work out a thing where he ships to your stackery.
Yeah, bring them to stackery. That's fine.
You know,
but you know, I'd take all those boy ones he's got and some of the Cthulhu ones.
They're
I'll
gorgeous.
take all those, whatever he wants to charge me.
Before we get into his other books and things like that and his back collection, I'm actually gonna, you know, I'm gonna kind of broker this to happen, you know, because he's my guy out of Boston, even though he's in the suburbs.
Because you know me, Kyle, I love that type of stuff. You know, I love it when there's 25 of them. I've got one.
I'm gonna work out a deal. I'm gonna plug you two in where, you know, you can do your donation or whatever to get, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to join his next Kickstarter. That's fine. It's the previous stuff.
With his Kickstarter, he doesn't make them available overseas because the postage was too much. Because I followed him.
Okay, so I can't.
But yeah, but you've got the stackery here stateside, Mark. So I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, I can do it. Great, because I've got the UK.
Yeah.
You know, back when I was self-publishing in the late '80s, early '90s, we had to have at least a print run of 1,000, or else they would charge you crazy prices. So when I hear a print run of 25, I'm like, well, I hope nobody likes that, because then the 25 people that do like it will never get a copy. You know, I mean,
it's the game's completely changed, Bill.
It's oh my God, I want to pull my, because I'm starting to do comics again myself, and I have no idea how I'm going to publish. And part of me wants to do, well, I had been approached before by David Lloyd and Aces Comics Weekly, and I sat on my hands like a fool. And now I'm sure I could probably talk him back into it. And I've thought about that. And you retain all your rights, which is great, so you can go self-publish afterwards. But I'm not even sure how many people are reading that anymore.
Nah.
The Kickstarter thing works pretty well.
Does it? Kickstarter?
Yeah. You know, you work out how much you need. You'd be happy to do it. If I said to you, do your own stuff, first issue, you're gonna get your Kickstarter money, it'll cover your costs. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
You're not going to make any money, but
you'll get it out.
You'll cover your printing costs and your, you know, so on and so forth. Work out how much that is, put that up as your Kickstarter thing, you know, and then go for it, you know, because then you've got the money to do it. You know, if it works, you know, you can do number 2.
That's if you get Kickstarter.
Question for you guys: do you mind if I spend a couple of minutes haggling out something for Scott? I'm actually going to conduct some business here. All right. So Scott, I don't
do it off, mate. Do it off the chat.
Yeah, do it off.
No, I mean, I want this in a chat because I want this in a chat because I want Scott to know. I want everybody to know. I want anybody like Mad Spidey Simon out of Australia. I want him to know. I want Mark to know. This is something I actually want to do where I want to pull everybody together, not a behind the scenes thing. I want to pull everybody together up front on the scenes. Okay, Scott, you ready for this? Are you sitting down?
I think
you got to
Scott is
turn your sound on, buddy. You got to turn your sound on. Your sound's off. We can't hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes.
There we go. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. I'm bracing myself.
All right. Can I help facilitate you getting UK distribution?
Potentially. I mean, I'd love to. Like, I do offer it on my Kickstarters, but it's quite expensive.
Can I help facilitate you getting Australian distribution?
Again, same thing. I mean,
where you never have to ship out of the States for you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We could add cost and things like that. But Mark down here is Suddenly Comics. Now you're out of London, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Mark's out of London. He's got Suddenly Comics, and he's a kind of a big hullabaloo. Now, while you were away, we were talking. Mark wants pretty much copies of every issue you flashed right there, and we're going to try and now this will be behind the scenes. We're going to figure out ways for you to get all the copies of that to Mark, where he can pump into your Kickstarter or make a bid or do whatever, get X amount of money to you for those. He's got a Stackery account out of right there. What, a state over from you? It's New Hampshire, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if you know this, Scott, but I buy quite a lot of comics in the States. And to minimize the shipping costs, there's a company called Stackery in New Hampshire. So I can get all my comics get sent to this place, and they consolidate them into a single box, and the shipping costs sort of plummet down. Right. So over the last 2 years, I've bought loads of stuff on US Whatnot and places like that because they won't ship to the UK. But I can get them because they have this Stackery account. It reduces the shipping costs. So, I'm happy to, buy stuff from you, and you can send it to my New Hampshire account, and then I'll pay for the shipping to the UK. So yeah, it's a pretty good.
And then if you get more issues and you get them through Mark, and Mark becomes your UK distributor through Suddenly Comics, again, we can work out the minutiae and details. But does that sound like a good start?
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
All right. So now we're getting you over in the UK. Now, I got guys over in California, Rob Spatstacks, who I'm not going to speak for him now, but he works out of pirate shipping. He works through pirate shipping to get over into Australia and things like that. And again, costs go down and things like that. But if I can stir up some interest in Australia, and then we can feed those through Rob, and then he can feed them on to Melbourne, Australia, and Simon, and get them out there. If I can poke up a little bit of interest, how about we get a couple of those comics out to Australia too?
Sure, that'd be great.
All right. Now, again, we want you to profit. We want you to do good. Mark may make a few pence on it in between here and there, but we're going to stir up some interest. Like the London Loves Comics group, I sent an invitation for those guys to pop in on the chat here. So let's see. Oh, hey, there's Katie going in Detroit, but we're going to get some issues out there. I could probably talk to Katie in Detroit. We can get some issues out there. Bill's down in San Antonio, Texas. We can get some issues out there. I could leverage Bill a little bit here to say, hey, Bill, when you get that pod going out of the shop down there, maybe we can get Scott on that one and get
Scott
down in Texas and get Scott on that there. Because Scott does not have the audience he deserves. And I've been telling him for years, if I can do anything about it, I'm damn sure going to do something about it. Here I am, Scott. I'm doing something about it.
I appreciate
I'm putting some of your comics in the UK. I'm spreading them around. Obviously Graham wants them too. Here we're on Graham's channel, and I'm sucking up all this time, but they're used to me being an idiot like this. But we're going to get some of them issues global. And Mark says, well, he wants a batch of those books so he can shoot a video on them and talk about them.
And read them, I'm sure.
His people over there. And
a little thing called reading the book. But
so I just want to facilitate.
I want to read them as well.
I want to plug you two in. So, cut the middleman out here. This is my job to Adnan Khashoggi in the middle. and facilitate, but I want to plug into him because, like, my word is bond with you guys and you know it. So, Mark, I vouch for Scott 1000%. Scott, I'm vouch for Mark 1000%. Good peoples. You guys go about it. You can take my word on the fact that it will benefit everybody. And let's get Scott a little bit global here, and let's take care of Mark while we're at it. Because, dude, I told you, Scott, you're going to blow them away with these books. You're going to blow them away with these books because it's so creative for such a simple story that a lot of people overlook, those kind of things because they are immersed in superheroes. Me being one of them. I'm more about the superheroes than Boy, but I understand how cool it is. So I found the Scott hype train.
Had superhero features in it.
Yeah, pieces, but not quite.
Yeah, I like Boy myself. I've always been a fan.
But I once we're done with this show today, I want to feel good knowing I legitimately helped Scott go global, and it wasn't nothing I did but introduce people. Because, dude, your shit is tight. Your books are awesome. They're fun.
A little bit too much information here, but
yeah, they're fun. They're creative.
I don't need to know about your
entertaining. Yeah. See, usually I'm being.
What was that about tight butts?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Usually I'm being dirty, but by saying that, I'm saying, dude, your books are tight. You're creative. Even when you're not on the screen here, I was saying, just the creative that's popping out of this guy's brain, and the ideas and the places he could go with this. I want to stoke that fire. I want that to be up there. I want you to be able to actually say, I made $1,000 on this, not 40. Where you could take 1,000 and just stick it in your pocket.
He wants 20,000, mate.
Well, but you start with the $1,000. You say, all right, well, my Kickstarter paid the bills and this did that, and I paid the artist. Now here's $1,000 in my pocket. Right. Then if he gets $1,000 in his pocket, then he can turn it to $10,000. Then he can turn it to, stop selling your comic books in your collection that you're not ready to sell, and start selling the books you're creating. And let's get more print runs up there, and let's get some more eyeballs and these Kickstarters and more things with that, and get you launched even bigger. Because I've been telling you for years, you should have a bigger fan base. Well, hello, welcome to a bigger fan base.
I appreciate it very much.
So, because you deserve it, brother. You deserve it. Now, let's talk comic books. I'll shut up now and quit.
Well, right. Okay. So, I'm going to go first. So, I'm very excited. I'm very excited.
Mark, go.
So, this arrived in the post today. Bill, it's here. There we go.
Whoa! Woo! I love it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Scott won't like it because it's got Hulk on it. But that is Marvel Annual from 1972, I think. And
it's 51
that
years
cover,
old.
you will have never seen that cover on an American comic.
No.
Okay. No. Let me tell you where that cover comes from. It's from a very small panel.
In number 3, right? Hulk number 3?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a minute little panel. And some British artist has created. I think it's a great.
It's gorgeous
rendition of that.
It's gorgeous.
This is in cracking condition, Bill.
Oh, it's beautiful. Oh my gosh!
It's not scribbled on.
Oh my gosh!
This will be. I bet you this is in battle.
It's Hulk wearing a toga on that cover.
Inside he is. See? No, I'm kidding. It kind of looks like it. I love that curvy stuff.
Okay. The other thing to note here, Bill, is this has not been what they call price clipped. So what you see the price there,
right?
And there's a little line. So the idea was when you gave this to your kid for Christmas, you cut the price off so you couldn't see how much you'd paid for it.
That's hilarious! Wow, I even have the price clip. Who knew?
A lot of these have not got this price on because they've been clipped, so that when the parents gave it to the kids for Christmas, they couldn't see how much had been paid for it.
You Brits are so proper. I love that. Creating a new market for unclipped books, you know.
And we've got a great Conan in here as well.
Oh, I didn't know they stuck Conan in there. That
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense at all, considering all the other. I mean, however, Conan was huge right then.
Yeah, it was 1972. Conan was big.
Yeah.
Bill, I'm so jealous of you getting that, but I'm just basking in how much I love this. You know that
I do too. Well, I have to do this.
now.
This is what I'm sending Mark.
Yeah,
I was so I can't tell how much you can see this, but this is the first in Kevin's sketchbook.
I have seen. I haven't got it, but I have seen it around. Yeah, really nice.
Yeah, and I was trying to think of something you wouldn't want to trade away or flip.
I don't want to trade that away.
No, and so I found that and I said, "Do you have this?" And he said, "No." And I go, "Well, you do now." So
there you go. Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
You remember the thing we were talking about where I said, well, you know, Mark would love it, but it really should be a Graham thing. Do you have that handy? Because I was teasing Graham about that yesterday.
I can't remember what you're talking about.
The cell?
Which cell?
The cartoon cell?
Well, I've got like hundreds. I can't remember.
You can't remember. I don't want to get away because
wait. Yeah,
I wanted it to be a surprise for him.
I remember.
Now you know why you couldn't read it.
I remember, Lewis.
Yeah, now you know why you can't read it, Gray. You see that smile on his face? That's why I said it's more Graham than Bill. That's why I said you can't read it, and it'd be behind you.
I know what it is.
But he was picking my brain. Yeah. Bill was picking my brain and asking me, you know, what Mark would like, because I want to know for him, Mark. Bill, Scott, Bill's an animator, by the way. Bill's cool. You know, the comic book historians group and things like that. That's him. I got to make him pull out a copy of his book he did with the interview with Neil Adams too. So, you know, got to hype Bill a little bit, but yeah, we were talking the other day, and
I'm gonna play show and tell for a minute until I get to Graham's piece.
Okay, I'll show you a couple of others. So these from the same seller. This is Marvel Annual 19.
Oh, that's beautiful.
This is even earlier. This is.
I
think this is 70, and this is very unusual because it's actually in color.
That looks like Stranko.
It's actually in color.
You know, Mark, I don't have one of those.
Let's see those colors.
So,
and it's beautiful color too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's beautiful.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Mark, I don't have one of those. Mark, see, he's got one. Mark, I don't have one of those. Mark.
Wow.
I've only got one of those also the same. This is the same. The same company had the rights here, so this is the same type of thing.
Is that the one that they pushed? Oh, okay. No, it's not.
It's not. I don't know what.
Yeah.
No.
There was one that was 300 pages. I noticed.
Oh no, these are not this. But this is great because it reprints. I'm a big Warlock fan, and this prints.
Oh, him! Isn't that great?
This prints the one where he comes out of the cocoon for the second time. Look at this!
Wow! Look at that!
I could have got those last year for $8. The two.
Wow! Not now.
Fast.
That's gorgeous. Oh my God!
That's really great, isn't it?
It is great.
And the other one I got. Those are from the 1970s. This is from 1968.
Wow! Look at that FF. Oh my God! Totally.
And that is completely new artwork. The whole of this is new artwork by British artists.
Is Barry Smith in that?
68. I think he was about 10.
No, Barry Smith was already working for Marvel.
68. He would have been about 20, wouldn't he? So he could have, no, he isn't.
I think he was already working for Marvel, believe it or not.
He was working for Marvel. Yes, he flew out to New York when he was 20.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hit you up for that 1968, but man, that 1970 looks like something that just needs to be in my stacks. Oh my goodness, did it?
All of those. You know, now,
Right,
now
and then-
Mark's got me on this tangent where I'm going to have to find them all. You know, I love them. They're gorgeous.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to show you this one. This is completely ridiculous. This was on. I was looking at these annual things, and I found the Marvel pop-up books, and this one was available at £2.40, free shipping. Okay,
What?
and it's Marvel Incredible Hulk pop-up book.
Oh, I've never seen that. Holy crap! Look at that.
Mark,
A couple guys here don't like the Hulk.
Mark, you wonderful, amazing, spectacular
Look at this.
human, you.
It's
Look at that.
unbelievable. It's in
Oh my
completely
God.
mint condition. New price in 2008 was £15, and I got it for £3. No, £2.40 with free shipping. So it's cost me $3. That.
Mark, you spectacularly wonderful guy, you.
So I want to show this one off. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Birdman over in Great Britain, but
Harvey Birdman.
that's from 1968.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah.
And then
These are animation sales, are they, Bill?
what's that?
These are animation sales, are they?
Yeah, from the actual productions. Yeah, and let me get to the good stuff here.
Graham,
Okay,
you got to
so-
have your face on here too while he's enlarged. I got to see your face.
Wow.
That's from the 66 Filmation version of Superman.
Gorgeous.
And then
You got to make Bill big. There you go. There you go. Now I can see your face while we're doing this.
this is, whoops.
Hey, Damien, how you doing, buddy?
This is how far my collection goes back. That's Hitler from Scrap Happy Daffy, which was a pro America World War II propaganda cartoon.
Wow.
And that's by the immortal Frank Tashlin, who was amazing. And then these.
How'd you get these? Do you sneak into the office after hours and steal them from the archives?
Oh no, I've bought or traded for all of these.
Is that Atomic Bunny?
No, it's Crusader Rabbit.
Oh, Crusader
the
Rabbit.
first Jay Ward. This is actually the first production piece from anything Jay Ward did, who went on to do Rocky and Bullwinkle, George of the Jungle, Super Chicken. Okay, now this, I have some Andy Panda stuff, but that's not really that popular. So
I love Andy Panda.
Oh yeah, you do. I forgot about that.
Oh, Betty Boop. Is that Betty Boop?
That's
What's
Andy
that?
Panda.
Andy Panda. Okay.
Yeah,
Never heard
and
of it.
by Walter Lantz. And let me go back to the one I passed up on. This, oh, you'll love this. I forgot I had this in here. So this is
Hadn't
what
even
they've
turned it
always
over,
did
and I
their
want
model
it.
sheets. They're huge.
Oh my God, I want that so bad.
Well, you'll get it somehow.
I want that so bad. And the shame of that is, I want it, and I'm going to end up giving it away.
Isn't it beautiful?
Everybody knows where would that wind up, Graham? If I got that, Graham, where would that?
No.
Roscoe.
Oh, Roscoe. Okay, yeah.
I want one for me, but I'm telling you, if I got that thing, I'd end up paying it forward to Roscoe. And
I don't even
oh
know
my
who Andy
God.
Panda is.
Yeah, that Andy
I
Panda
never heard
was
of
one, and that.
No.
Oh, man. Oh, I forgot.
Andy
Dude,
Panda has
I
not
bought
crossed the
all
pond.
this from Walter Lantz's archivist.
Oh my God.
We had
Yeah.
Andy Pandy, didn't we?
I forgot you were triggered by Andy Panda.
Bill, for real, I want one of those, and somehow we trade. And I really do. There's this kid down in Florida. who is a modern day cartoonist who really deserves one of those. Who?
That's a print ad they put out.
Uh,
And then I have another Andy Panda, but yeah, I have a ton of Lance stuff that's really good.
Roscoe, if you're watching this in the end, yeah, I need to plug you into Roscoe. Oh my God.
Is that Dick Tracy?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I have
it
the
is.
cell that goes with it. And then I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ron English at Propaganda, but he's pretty awesome. He did a fat quiz.
Is that Quiz?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Isn't that great?
That is fantastic.
And one of Ron's paintings recently went for $6 million. So
do you guys over there know what Quisp cereal is?
Nope.
I know Scott
No.
probably does. Scott, you know what Quisp is, don't you?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had it, but I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of predates you a little bit because you're a bit younger than us, but yeah. Oh my God. How's this for easy, Scott? That'll give you a voice break. You can see the silliness we do here.
this is from the very first Mr. Magoo cartoon.
Oh wow.
And
God.
this is the Dick Tracy cell.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that is gorgeous.
Isn't it gorgeous? You know, and here is this is his villain Mumbles. As everything falls out. Oh, and guess what? Right here is what I wanted to show Graham.
Are you ready?
Second.
I gotta see his face when this comes up. I gotta see his face.
Oh wow. It's Jimmy.
It's the
Wait,
model
that's
sheet for Jimmy Olsen from the Superman cartoon.
It's the model sheet for it, dude.
The model cell,
The
I
model
should say.
cell.
Yeah. And
What
then
year is that?
this is, hold on a second.
66 or 67?
66.
66, yeah.
I gotta do this right because the mouth is separate from the cell. This is from 1973, Super Friends.
Super Friends, yeah.
Is he sunk in the ground there or something?
He's
He's
smelling
sinking into the ground.
smelling a piece of equipment that someone has come up with something that when they use it, it smells like almonds. And so he's smelling for the hint of almonds. Which,
Yeah.
that sounds so
Okay.
believable.
Does an arsenic smell almonds, or does that taste of almonds?
These are original storyboards. For
George of the Jungle. Oh! What? Claim.
And oh, I love this. I love this.
So cool.
This one right here, where he's in the car engine.
Oh,
In that, I
love
tell you what, these things
You-
were so
you're
great.
quite centered
And
there,
then-
mate.
I love it. Oh, there's my favorite right there. Oh, that's my favorite. If you're willing to trade for that, buddy,
Yeah,
put my
we
name on
can
that.
definitely work something out. And then
Very
you're just
true.
talking about Quisp,
Fantastic.
and then this is from a Quisp and Quake commercial.
Quisp and Quake.
So they did
True.
something interesting. They had two cereals come out at the same time, and they had them compete against each other. Quisp was against Quake, and they were basically the same cereal, but Quake was a miner with a mining cap on, and he had like muscle power or mineral power or something like that, and Quisp was this quasi alien who came down just to mess with them. And they both had, so all their ads by Jay Ward, I might add, who, if you can't tell by now, I'm a big Jay Ward fan. And I've animated in his style many times. But he came up with this, and it was pure genius. The premiums go for as much as $2,000 or $3,000 now. And these are things that came out in the 60s. So It's pretty amazing stuff. And I'll stop there because I have so much more I could show, but I'll wait till next week for that.
Yeah, we'll do
I
that.
wanna
We'll
see
do that
more
next
about-
week.
I wanna
Sorry,
see
I didn't mean to take up so much time, but I found so much cool stuff.
That's fine and dandy. We give Scott a break for a minute. Let him relax. What'd you think of that stuff, Scott?
It was really cool.
There you go.
I'm a big animation guy, although I have to say most of that is slightly before my time.
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah,
things
well,
that were
you're
a
young
little in
compared
reruns
to
when
the
I was
rest
a
of
kid,
us.
I guess, in the 70s,
Yeah.
but a little before me. But
So, Graham, what'd you think of Jimmy Olsen? You awake there, Graham? Did he freeze up? Is he in shock?
I don't know. I've been freezing up most of the time, so I'm not really sure.
So, what do you think of that Jimmy Olsen, buddy?
Yeah, I was in now.
Would you hang that proudly on your wall?
Are you really
That's
that big a
always
Jimmy
very
Olsen
cool.
fan?
Yeah, he likes Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, God. it's in a folder somewhere. Jimmy Olsen. It's more of a it's like on the weekly show that we do, I always get Judge hates Jimmy Olsen, so I show him a lot and get generally bad scores.
Yeah. He catches a lot of scoring on cover slingers for Jimmy.
Really?
Like Lois.
But yeah.
Well,
But he's a Jimmy
love
guy.
Jimmy. He was the lunatic character of DC, but
I don't know. So, Graham, would that be something you'd love to own?
he's speechless. So
Yeah. There you go. All right, let's go back to Scott. Speaking of speechless,
Yeah, let's have a look at some of these.
I'm gonna give a little prelude of this.
Okay.
Y'all know my standards are high with comic book stuff, and I have crazy cool collectibles and I have crazy cool stories. And I bow down to Scott with some of these stories. I mean, it is insanely cool. I got some cool rock and roll stories. Scott's rock and roll story about Avengers 1, his collection of that is just primo. So once we get Scott back on the big screen, let's talk Avengers, Scott, and blow him away.
all right. Well, I'll tell the story. You're building me up a lot, so, but I'll tell the story and let everyone decide for themselves. Let me just get that out there. Yeah, so here it is. Here's my Avengers #1. It's currently in a 3.0 slab.
Yeah. Nice.
So the story's pretty long on this one. So, because there's multiple parts to it. I started collecting Avengers when I was first issue was 256, and I got into comics like immediately. Started immediately buying back issues. I wanted the oldest ones I could get, First time we went to a comic store, I got Avengers 36. But the second time we went to a comic store, my dad bought me this here, Avengers #4.
wow,
it was $12.50.
Well done, Dad.
Wow.
It's really low grade, but I was so new to comics. I was like, gee, I don't know. The cover's almost coming off. Like if I read it, the cover's going to fall off if I read it too much. So my dad said, I know just what to do. So we got some rubber cement and we glued the cover to the spine. It doesn't matter. It's just part, so this issue has a lot of meaning for me because of, my dad got it for me. A couple years later, I was really into Avengers. My dad actually is the one that said, why don't you focus on one title? And then once you finish that title, then go on to the next one rather than just doing scattershot. So 14th birthday was coming up, and here we can get our license at 16. And so my dad, who was a car mechanic some of the time, was like, maybe for your birthday we'll get you a car. And he had my uncle had this car, and I think it was a 51 Kaiser Wilhelm or something. And it was, it was really rough. It needed a lot of work. And so my dad was like, we could get you this car and spend the next couple of years working on the car so that it'll be ready when you turn 16. About that time, though, I went to the mall, just our local shopping mall, and they were having a collectibles convention, like in the mall where people would set up the little booths. And one of them had this Avengers #1. Of course, it wasn't in a CGC case then because CGC didn't exist. And it was $80. And, Avengers was my main focus in my collection. I had put together quite a run at that point. So I was just like, oh man, this Avengers 1. But I didn't have $80, So my parents sat me down and they said, you have to make it a choice. We can get you the Avengers 1, or we can get you a car. And I was like, well, this is a no-brainer. Avengers 1, I'll just walk. So we had the chance to get this vintage car and, fix it up. But instead, I asked my parents to get me the Avengers 1. They got me the Avengers 1, which I still have. This was in the fall of 1987.
Wow.
So then in the summer of 1989, we went to a comic book show in Boston. I can't show you this part because it's in a slab now, but I met Stan Lee. Stan Lee was appearing at the show. It was back when he used to sign for free. Waited in a long line, and I had gotten this book on collecting, and it was like it was talking about signatures, and it had this warning about Stan Lee that he would press down really hard. And the guy who wrote the book said that he had him sign a Fantastic Four #11, and Stan Lee had pressed down so hard it ripped the cover. So I was terrified that Stan Lee was going to rip my Avengers #1 cover, but I really wanted to have it sign it. So when I got up there, I was too nervous to say anything to him because it was Stan Lee, But I opened the book so he would sign the inside on the front page, but instead he started signing it on the inside of the front cover. And I was just sitting there just like, oh my God, he's gonna do it. He's gonna rip through the front cover, particularly because now it didn't have the rest of the book behind it. It was just the cover. But thankfully it didn't rip through. So if somewhere I have a photo that I took before I had this slabbed, but if I could open it, you'd see that Stan Lee had signed the inside of the front cover of this.
With a slight tear. No, I'm kidding.
So, I eventually had it slabbed for just for insurance purposes. And had it, obviously I've had it in my collection a long time. In 2009, I was out of work for a while, and I was like, what am I going to do? And I decided, okay, I'm going to do a comic book website, like a blog, talk about comics. And I was trying to think of what to do, and I was writing about different things, and I came across that old MMMS, Know Ye the Hallowed Ranks of Merry Marveldom. And I started looking at that, and I realized that I had all of the ranks, except for, of course, the Fearless Front Facer, which legend has it only Stan Lee can bestow on somebody. Because at one point, I had been reading more than 3 issues, buying more than 3 Marvels a month. I had convinced several of my friends to buy Marvel comics, so I had both of those titles. I had a letter published in Avengers 353, and I also had gotten a Node Prize for cataloging. I had gone through all 357 issues at that point by one by hand and cataloged all of the characters, appearances, everything in the notebook. So they gave me a no prize for it. So
an empty envelope.
It was an empty envelope. So I had those 4, and then the 5th MMMS title was a title you got for having the other 4. So I had all 5 of those titles, but the one I didn't have was this one that only Stan Lee could give you. So I decided I was going to try and get the Fearless Front Facer title. It's going to be my quest. And I made up a video where I told the story about the car and how I had passed up a car to get the Avengers #1. And I sent the video to Tom Brevoort, the Avengers editor at the time. And a couple days later, I got an email from Stan Lee. And in the email, Stan said he had watched my video and that he was officially bestowing on me the title of Fearless Front Facer.
Wow.
So I have that email from Stan Lee. And of course, there's always that thing in your back of your head where it's like, is it really an email from Stan Lee? But a few years ago, you may remember there was that big Sony hack where North Korea had hacked into Sony's computer files and released it all. Some of the emails that they released were from Stan Lee about the Spider-Man movies, and they were from the same email address. So I was able to verify that it was Stan Lee who sent me that email. So that's the story of my Avengers #1, and how you're
never going to sell that, are you?
No.
No.
This. If I got rid of everything else, this is the one that I would keep.
I have to say, I'm surprised you got that slabbed, because you can't show that Stan Lee autograph anymore.
It was about the time I had bought a house for the first time, and I was trying to get everything like cataloged for insurance purposes, and I just had a handful of like my most expensive books slabbed so if something happened, there's a fire or a break-in, I could say it was a 3.0. And like I said, I took a photo, which I don't have to show you here, but it's on one of my computer here somewhere, of the signature. But it says on the slab, Stan Lee written on interior cover in pen, which doesn't quite tell the whole story.
Doesn't even begin. Yeah.
So, obviously it's a really important comic for me. It has, my parents are both gone now. And so, I think of my parents.
Can I just say, what a great dad.
Yeah.
Applause to Dad.
That's what I said. Yeah, absolutely. And these guys know I try and always talk people out of their first comic or their most important comic as a joke, kind of. And I've done that with Scott too. I'm like, oh yeah, buddy, I'd take care of that. But I know I talk more about that story than some of my own stories. I like tell people, you need to hear this. You need to meet this guy and hear this story.
I'll tell you what I like about that. Your dad was a car mechanic. What he wanted to do was spend 2 years with you repairing that car.
Yeah, and that's not something I kind of...
He agreed to go ahead and buy that Avengers instead. Says a lot about him.
Yeah, and it's, as a kid, that's not something you think about. No, and as an adult, I'm like, my dad had read Marvel back in the 60s. He was a Vietnam veteran, and he would read the comics while he was like in Vietnam.
Yeah, and your dad was a what? Huh? Tell him how cool they were. Your dad was a what?
He was a U.S. Marine.
He was a Marine, like
That's
me.
Right.
There you go.
2 combat tours in Vietnam, and he wasn't very emotionally available, but he would drive me around to comic stores. That's how we would spend time together. He would drive me all over the state looking for these Avengers back issues I was looking for.
That's
so
beautiful, though.
I've never met his dad, but I proclaimed to the world time and again, brother, your dad was a badass. He was an amazing human being. Your folks were amazing human beings, and you took that trait, buddy. You took that trait. You're an amazing human being. So
I just have to say, I'm going to use my favorite bottle opener right now to open a beer.
There you go.
And of course, I won't be able to do it for some reason because I'm on camera.
There you go. Now,
well, Thanos can do everything but open a damn beer.
There you go.
What's that? Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Yes, it was. I'm going to go put you on the
best bottle opener ever. You know?
Yeah. And as you guys could glean from that story, if you want to know something about the Avengers in the first run, the guy could write a book on the front and back, and partly from Marvel. He kind of did. He's got the full Avengers around. He's a completionist like Greg.
Yeah. Well, my last issue was 502, the Bendis disassembled. That killed it for me.
Yeah.
That was the end.
But go watch his channels. It's riveting talking and things like that. But I love seeing that. And then the other story, if you want to segue from the Avengers, why I cannot pick on this guy about girly girl books, but I picked on Mark yesterday, but you ready for another cool story?
Sure.
Yeah.
This one's a lot shorter.
I like romance. I like romance stuff. Let's hear about it.
Yeah, and I've got a bunch of cool romance stuff to show you. I brought the good stuff for you guys for the romance. Something that I don't want to say you won't see anywhere else, because I know there's other people that have this, but you're not going to see something you won't see very often. But yeah, this is a much shorter story. It's just when I was a kid, my parents both worked, so my grandmother would watch me. Like after school, I'd go to my grandparents' house, and my grandmother, she had arthritis, so she was confined to a chair. Like she couldn't really walk. And so we basically, sometimes I'd go out and play in the neighborhood, but a lot of times it was just sort of sit with grandma because, she was supposed to watch over me, but she couldn't leave the room. And so we would watch soap operas. So it would be, Young and the Restless, Days of Our Lives, and then General Hospital. That was the lineup. And General Hospital was my favorite for sure. But we would watch these soap operas every day. And so, I got this sort of love of the soap opera stuff. So when it comes to like romance comics, one thing I love about there's not a lot of these, but there are a few like ongoing soap opera storylines in some of these romance comics, particularly a 60s DC, the Life and Loves of Lisa St. Clair in Young Love, and like April O'Day, or Reach for Happiness is a great one. So, I just had this love of the genre, of the romance genre. And then, eventually started buying the romance comics and really developed appreciation both for the stories, but also, there's so many great artists that have these, great art in these romance books. So, the romance, along with Archie, has really been the focus of my collection for like the last 10 years or so. And romance, the last 5 years in particular, has really been the focus of what my collection is. Superhero stuff, I don't know. I kind of, after the stuff with Civil War and Dark Reign and the stuff happening at DC around that time with like Infinite Crisis, that was it for me with the superhero stuff, the like current stuff. I still like the old stuff, but I can't do any of the new stuff. So I shifted my focus to romance. I think of my grandmother when I read these, and again, there's a lot of family connections for me with the comics. So let me just show you what I've sort of hyped up a little bit here. DC had the big 7 romance titles. Now 4 of them that they started themselves and 3 that they bought from other companies. So they had Young Love and Young Romance, which are originally Prize Crestwood. Those were the Simon and Kirby romance books. They also had Heartthrobs, which was originally, I'm blanking on the company now. It might have been Quality.
Quality or Ajax, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Quality. And then they had their own 4 titles, which was Girls Romance, Girls Love were the 2 big ones, and then Secret Hearts and later Falling in Love. Those are the 7, and all of those romance titles ran for over 100 issues. So what I'm going to do here is show you the first issue of all 7 of them.
Wow.
So here's Young Romance #1.
Wow.
First romance comic, 1947, Simon and Kirby. This is a CGC 2.0. This is the last of these that I got.
Wow.
Sorry.
I need one of them. I need number 161 of Young Romance to complete my first book.
Yeah, if I can facilitate that, if you got a copy of it's 161, right, Gray?
I'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Scott. How much would that set you back if you wanted a 2.0 of that?
Well, I just got this a year and a half ago in a Comic Link auction.
Okay.
After the fees, I think it was $450.
Okay.
Wow.
Which is actually less than I thought it was going to be, and it was a lot less than I had bid on it. So, like, I was getting this, like, one way or the other. I had bid much higher on that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Here's the companion titles: Young Love #1, also Simon and Kirby.
God, those covers are great.
What company were those? Young Romance originally?
It was Prize originally, and then it became Crestwood later.
Oh, right.
But it has the Prize logo here in the middle.
So is that Jack Kirby art?
Oh
Yeah.
He and Simon did both those titles for many issues, right?
Well, they created the romance genre.
Yeah.
What year was that one? That last one? What year was that? Sorry.
I think it might have been 49, but I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
Yeah.
It might have been 48. Yeah. It was one or the other.
The
Young
style,
Romance was such a big hit that everyone started immediately putting out copycats, including themselves.
clothing style is just awesome, isn't it? The
Yeah.
fashion that they're all wearing.
And then here's the other one that was not originally DC. It's Heartthrobs #1, which has the best cover of all of these, I think.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Whose art is that?
I think it's Bill Drought.
Yeah, that sounds right. He
Sounds
did
right.
quite a few romance comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds
Wow,
right.
that's a great cover.
And if y'all are wondering why I don't have any Matt Baker comic books to trade, it's because Scott owns all my old Matt Baker comics now. So.
Wow.
And
What's
then
that
there's the
that smoke trail or something? I can't work out what it is behind her head on that cover. That's a
This,
smoke trail.
it's lace. She's wearing a black lace like scarf that's sort of blowing. There's another strand of it that goes across down this way here.
Right.
Yeah, if the camera's not great, but if you can see, there's very intricate line work on the detailing on the lace.
So is that Ajax or Quality? Because I thought that was Ajax that they bought that from.
I think it's Quality, but let me see. Yeah, it's Quality.
Quality. Okay.
And then we have DC's big flagship was Girls Romances. Here's #1 of that.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
The photo covers are not as cool, and so they're not quite worth as much because of the photo covers. Harder to find, I think, is actually this one, which is Girls Love #1. This is a Canadian edition, so I got it at a bit of a discount because it's missing one of the interior stories, but it's in really nice shape. And I'm pretty sure there's an Alex Toth story in this one.
You got most of my Canadian romances too, even though you didn't want my Our Love #1 from Marvel. So
here's Secret Hearts #1. This is also a Canadian edition, I think. No, I'm wrong, but it does have a date stamp. July 14, 1949. I love date stamps.
Wow.
yeah, I'm with you on that one.
And then the last one they did was from 57, which is Falling in Love #1. My copy is in really bad shape, but it's holding this place down in the full set until I can get a better one.
It's not my favorite cover.
That's not Gil Kane, is it?
No, it's
Looks kind of Amish.
I think it's Tony Abruzzo.
No, I'm not familiar. Well, I know who he is, but I'm not a big fan. I'm not an anti-fan either.
If he's known for anything, it's because Roy Lichtenstein ripped off a lot of his panels for his famous paintings. A lot of those are Tony Abruzzo.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there it is. There's my set of all 7 #1s.
So yeah, and if you want somebody that can identify artists, man, Scott's got that
I'm
too.
pretty good at some of them, yeah. I know people that are better than I am at it, though, I'll have to say. So,
And he hadn't even busted out his Archie collection or things like that. But what do you think, Mark? Pretty impressive, huh?
I love those.
And don't you love the story to that? Don't you love the backstory?
Yeah,
That's
I like the backstory with Grandma. Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
And it's a good reason for collecting romance. I just like some of the covers, to be honest with you. I've got up until I recently had no romance, but I buy lots at auction, and you just get random comics in there.
Well,
I picked up a few romance comics. Girl Romance is the key title. and I've picked a couple of copies up of that, and I just love them. They're just really good covers.
I
If
know.
you learn to love Matt Baker, you are going to have a stack of romance comics.
So I'm on the lookout. If I can, I like to find my comics cheap. I attend sort of auctions and can find stuff quite cheap sometimes. So I'm on the lookout for cheap romance.
Cheap romance. That should have been a title. Cheap romance.
Bill, it's been the same all my life. I'm after the cheap stuff, you know.
I'm flipping that. I'm off the cheap romance. That's gonna
Cheap romance.
Well, I did bring a couple other romance ones, just sort of the Bronze
Honey, here's
Age key. I mean, the Silver Age key.
sardines.
You know, I drive around the block and they say, you know,
Yeah.
it's
You ready for this? He's going to hit you with bigger one. He's going to hit you with some big ones.
Yeah, just a couple of the big Silver Age, like
Whoa.
What's
Young
that?
Romance 150 is kind of the biggest of the DC Silver Age books.
Wow, that's great.
It's J. Scott Pike.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got the class, like you can see her boyfriend is kissing some other girl and
Yeah, and she's crying. That's brilliant. What's
Yeah.
that? Young Romance 150.
150. Yeah,
That is fantastic.
this is, I think, kind of the biggest of the Silver Age books. Like mine's about a 5.5, which is the best I've found. This is I've owned 4 copies, and this one's the best. And I mean, I think it's probably about 250 right now for this, but it's hard to say because they don't come up that much.
Wow.
And the other big one is this one here. It's Falling in Love 99 with the psychedelic.
Is that Charlton?
No, it's DC.
It
does look like Charlton, though.
It looks it. Oh, that artist did a lot of the romance covers for Charlton. That's why I'm. Who is that?
I have just completely blanked, actually.
So is that Falling in Love 99, did you say?
Yeah, Falling in Love 99.
Wow.
And the previous one was Young Romance 150.
Yeah.
Mark's writing all this down. He's like,
I know who it is. I can't think of the guy's name, but he was from another country. I think he was either Italian or Spanish.
I want to say it's Rick Estrada, but I'm not sure if that's right.
Oh, that's probably Rick Estrada. That's probably who I'm thinking of.
My copy is not bad. It has someone's name written on it and a little bit of writing on the cover, which is the main thing. I think I got a good deal on this. I think I paid $115, but this is another book that I think is normally at least $200 for that. So those are kind of the bigger Silver Age ones.
Wow, I'm so impressed.
I used to have a lot more. I actually, as Kyle knows, I had a huge romance collection, and I started having a lot of breathing issues because I developed a mold allergy, and I had to sell off like whole boxes of them because they're generally in much lower condition and not kept as well as superhero books, and they were so musty that my entire room was musty from the romance books.
Oh my god!
And I had to really focus down and just keep the ones that I want. So like if you check out my channel, you see I have full runs of the DC version of both Young Love and Young Romance. So it's Young Romance 125 to 208, and then Young Love 39 to 126. I finished both of those runs, but a lot of the other ones I ended up having to get rid of.
Wow. Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Hence another title, Musty Love.
Yeah.
You know, and hate. You know.
I feel like I've dominated everything here.
So, Bill, I'm Cheap Love. You're Musty Love.
I'm Musty Love.
I'm not sure which is the lowest.
Worst. I don't know.
I did have one more book I wanted to show before
Please.
we're done. I'm sorry I've been taking up so much time, but
Oh,
this
no,
one.
no,
has-
no.
It's the
You're the
Scott
special
show,
guest,
buddy.
dude.
That's what you're
It's the
for,
Scott
mate.
show.
This
Long
is
as you're not
great.
talking
Yeah.
about long as you're not talking about the Boston Bruins, because sure they're doing good this year, but put on the Whalers too, buddy.
It's in the car. It's in the car. Otherwise, I have it. No, I wanted to show my Action 252 because it's got a little bit of a story.
Oh wow, that's beautiful.
And the story is, it does have a little writing on the cover. You know, it's about a 2.5. It has a minor tear seal that I haven't bothered to have removed because why bother? But the thing that's really interesting, I don't know if you can see it here. I'm going to try and zoom in on this. Is the name of the original owner written on the front, which is
Denise Williams?
nope.
No,
Oh,
it's going to blow Bill away. Graham and Mark may not get it. Mark might.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nope.
zoom that up.
It's Dennis Kitchen.
oh my gosh, Dennis. He's a friend of mine from way back. Wow, that's awesome.
I had emailed him a couple years ago and sent him a picture, and he did confirm that he was the original owner of this. It was from his original collection.
I bet he loved getting that email. He's he's a graceful, great guy, and he
was very nice. I was a little worried. I was like, I don't know, maybe he will want it back. Maybe someone stole this from him when he was a kid. I don't know, but no, he was happy to see it. And when I went to this is actually one I got from my LCS. I went in there and they had put it aside because they knew I was looking for a copy. And the owner was like, it does have, someone wrote their name on it. And I was like, that is awesome. Dennis, I know who Dennis Kitchen is.
Mark, does that name ring a bell to you?
Not a Scooby, not a dare.
Now you're getting into underground comics, right?
I've always been into underground.
Yeah, so you've heard of Kitchen Sink Press, right?
Yeah.
He's the kitchen.
Dennis Kitchen. He's the kitchen.
The kitchen sink. Oh well,
There you go. You have Dennis Kitchen
quite
books.
An underground artist.
Yeah, I've seen Dennis Kitchen books in your collection.
Not
his personally owned.
I'm connected now. I know.
Yeah.
And we haven't made that connection yet. We got to give him a break on that one. But
and that's why, like for Gray, Scott, you'll love this. I got my Journey into Mystery run off of Scott, and I'm trading those to Rayman. And the Journey into Mystery 90, who originally belonged to who? That you mentioned before?
Yeah, I got it from Tom Brevoort.
Tom Brevoort. It's from his original collection.
Wow.
I am trading that to Rayman for a 1957 Superman that's going to Gray. So as the top row here, there's a connection. Brevoort's copy of that is getting traded to Rayman, so Rayman can send you that 1957 Superman.
So while we're just talking underground, I have to show you something I dug out of my attic this afternoon. I've completely forgotten about it. It's in this envelope. And I remember buying this probably in the, I think, late 70s and it was about 2022. And I was into underground comics at the time. And I think I paid about $5 for this. And it is Yellow Dog Special 5th Anniversary Limited Edition from 1973.
Nice.
And it's got
Bob
the
Crumb.
first 12 issues of one of the first underground magazines, Yellow Dog.
Well, you know the backstory to Yellow Dog, right?
No, not Kyle. Tell me.
You really don't know the backstory to that?
I know it well, but of course I do.
Bob Crumb and his brother created that while they were kids in school, and they went ahead and made a comic book out of it when they grew up.
Oh, okay.
They created Yellow. Oh my God! You wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Oh, I can't call him names because
this guy at the top, the sort of figure here, looks a lot like Bill.
There you go.
Me?
Yeah, don't you think so?
Oh, it looks just like me.
Just so you know, Mark.
Get the peg leg.
Yeah.
Well, he grew up in Texas, so.
Yeah. Hey, that cover of that right there, that's Bob Crumb drawings from when he was in middle school.
Really? Okay. We're looking up the
crazy. Yeah. We can't tell he was going to grow up to be Robert
That's what
Crumb.
he went through at puberty. That's 1950s Robert Crumb art.
Yeah.
He just his wife just passed away.
Yeah.
Crumb.
And this is he was doing anti-Vietnam stuff when he was a teenager. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where's they go for now?
He went to the University of Texas and met up with Gilbert Shelton and Janis Joplin, and we've discussed this last week. And then they all moved to San Francisco and started the whole hippie movement.
Yeah. So these are not first prints. These were produced in '73. So this came out in '68, the original.
Oh
Yeah.
wow! But still,
Now,
very hard to find.
I saw a set. I looked it up on eBay today. There's a setup on eBay of these selling for $300.
Yeah.
That wasn't a bad investment back in the day, was it?
No, not at
And
all.
a yellow dog one from '68 goes for thousands.
Really, I'm not surprised.
Looking good nick as well.
But yeah,
they've been in my they've not been. These were all in really good condition.
yeah. And I love them and I want them. But like 2 weeks ago, we did a pediatric brain cancer fundraiser, and Mark made a donation. And I said, if you double the donation, I can't say. Now, I'm not calling you this, Mark, but like when Mark pulls out books I want, these guys have pried it out of me. I tend to say, you bastard or whatever, because I was always too sweet to him. And I made a commitment for a month. I can't cuss him. So if you hear me going, you amazing, wonderful guy, that's me actually biting through my tongue, trying not to cuss him because I want that book. But until mid-February, I can't dog him for anything.
Oh my gosh, that's great stuff.
This is hilarious. So if you just think about the relevance of this today, this was done in 1968, and it's called a little strip called The Yellow Dog, and we've got a sort of takeoff of Peanuts.
Right.
Saying, behold our world, and the yellow dog comes along and pisses on it. And they say, my sentiments exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
And like I said, I don't know the specifics on the breakdown of the page, but a lot of that stuff is 50 stuff that they did throughout school, and then just picked it up and made a comic out of it. So, Yellow Dog is the earliest Robert Crumb original piece.
Brand.
But
So
yeah,
I don't know how many
a decade before Zapp, he was doing that.
So as you can see on the envelope, it actually says Yellow Dog special.
Well, we know how much I want that, so.
You're not getting it, Kyle.
See, now it's not all been the Scott show, so we gave you a break, Scott. But I told you, you are the honored guest. You are.
I don't know how many of those there are in the UK, but I don't think there are many.
Yeah, you are now in the pantheon with JMD Mateus.
I've been trying to ask this question for about 3 hours.
All right, here we go.
But every time I try and ask the question, someone talks over me. I'm not sure if you're hearing me or not. But I wanted to ask Scott about Cthulhu. Why purple? Why not the traditional green? Is this like a color choice for printing, or did you feel Cthulhu better? Most people depict him as green, and also are any more of the Lovecraftian ancient old ones going to be making appearances in the book?
So in terms of purple, I don't remember why I went with purple. It may be as simple as the fact that I'm colorblind. So my color choices, because I had done a poster.
Mystery solved.
Yeah, I did a poster of Cthulhu fighting Uncle Sam, and then that was the genesis. Everything sort of came from that. So it's not the artist Jay Piscopo that did that. It was me. And it could very well just have been because I was colorblind. Like I'm red-green colorblind. So they're greens. I have trouble with greens. They look red to me, so I may have just misinterpreted the images I was looking at, and I thought that he was purple when he was actually green. It's very likely.
Yeah. So very cool story there. Yeah, we weren't stepping on you, Graham. You just weren't coming through. You're coming through pretty clear.
I know. It's mate, and that's crap. The same as when I'm trying to put people on big screen. It takes 4 or 5 drags before it works, and it's like it's just everything's going slow.
But another reason we weren't noticing you is you're wearing camouflage tonight.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
I definitely want to do
do
screenshots of this amazing panel. Because, I mean, you talk about 4 of my best friends in the comic community. I'm telling you, if Johnny Reisler was tucked in the corner of Montreal, Johnny was in here. This is my comic book world right here.
Oh, thanks very much, Kyle.
Thank you,
Johnny,
buddy.
you see this, you need to be in on this one too. But it's pretty hard for me not to have a love fest. But like I said, Scott, I've been hyping you. Scott's all humble, but I've been telling people for years, you need to see this. And leading up to this, I was hyping this. I was like, you got to see this. Can't wait till you hear the story. I've been biting my tongue for over a month with Mark going, I'm not going to tell you the story because I want Scott to tell the story, but wait till you hear the story.
I hope I lived up to the hype there.
It lived up to the hype, didn't it, Mark?
It's been the best one so far, Kyle.
And I'm telling you, and I'm going to name drop again. I got JMD Mateus on here. I got Tom Mandrake on here.
No, this is
Meeting Scott Neves on here. Hillary Bartis, a regular on here.
This is one of my favorite shows. I've only done 3 or 4, but I've enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. So there you go, Scott. You're in the pantheon of the legits, and
I appreciate it. I did want to, because Gray Man had a second question. So there will be other Pantheon people, members and stuff eventually. I haven't quite worked it out yet. I'm spreading out a little bit, like in the new issue of Crime Busters, the cult. The main cult that are enemies, they're technically not the cult of Cthulhu. They're just working with them. They're actually what I call the Knights in Yellow. So I've sort of extrapolated on the King in Yellow, and I have the whole thing with the court. Yeah, the court in yellow. So I'm going to be introducing other nobles from Hastur. So this issue, the new Crime Busters, they summon the Queen in Yellow. So the Queen in Yellow is going to be sort of a major figure eventually. This is just sort of a tease for her. But there's a couple others that I had planned to introduce, and I decided for reasons to do with Lovecraft himself. There's certain segments of my fan base that don't necessarily appreciate how racist H.P. Lovecraft is. So that's caused me to re-examine certain things about his pantheon that I was going to introduce, and now I'm just trying to figure out how to redo them so they're not quite so racist. That's basically it.
And since I've lavished so much praise on you, I do got to bust your balls once here, just to show I can do it. Just so I can show I can crack on you like them too. So this group of yellow folks and Yellow Queen, are they going to be blue?
The main color in their costume.
Oh, what a bastard you are! I can cuss right now.
Yeah,
that was
the main color in their costume is actually green. So
I just had to bust his balls.
Yeah. So yeah, if you read Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam, you will see that this was not me. This is Jay. When he did the design, they look more like Hydra agents. So they do have yellow in their costumes, but their costumes are actually green mostly.
Yeah.
So yes, even though they're called
less aim, more Hydra.
Green.
Yeah. Less aim, more Hydra. So see, I couldn't. They're always telling me I'm blowing smoke up people's asses, so I had to bust you once on that. So
in the new issue with my new artist, he has made them a little more yellow. So it's more of like a 50-50 yellow green instead of like most.
There you go.
So they're getting there. They're almost.
But it's all good. Gray's the only one that would notice a green or purple Cthulhu problem. I'm thinking, well, purple Cthulhu works just perfectly. It just pops right off the.
Probably change colours if he wants to anyway.
So
can I just show you a French underground comic? I'm going to have to censor it.
Oh, that's awesome.
This is a French underground comic from 1970s, L'Echo de Savant. And it's got Robert Crumb in it. It's just unbelievably good.
Oh my gosh!
Wow. Yeah, and
I thought that was Graham doing his twerk there.
And coup de coeur, where here a young girl entices a paedophile to his death.
Oh gosh!
Oh man!
It's just, and the artwork is unbelievably good. I mean, I can't show you some of these because they're a bit dodgy, but it's just
Oh my gosh!
I've got about 3 issues. They're advertising the French version of Vampirella there.
Whoa!
And there's the Robert Crumb Joe Blow.
Joe Blow,
Yeah.
In French. I can't show you a lot of this because if you know this, it gets a bit. I think I accidentally showed you.
No, there was a Joe Blow job there. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
A little matinee there.
Fantastic stuff. I mean,
it's just his early work, especially, is just phenomenal.
This is sort of French stuff. You know, they're a lot more loose on their censorship.
That looks like Wally Wood on the right.
That really does.
Isn't that weird?
That might well be.
Or it could be a swipe.
He took
worked with
the artist or the model for the
It could well be. It could be well be Wally Wood because there's a load of.
I bet it is.
Yeah, the EC guys were all invested in the underground stuff. You will see the EC guys all over underground books.
Yeah,
look at the artwork here.
Oh, phenomenal.
So how's this for an all over the place show, Scott?
Man, we did go all over the place.
I mean, just unbelievably good.
Oh my God! Look at that.
And you have 3 of those marks, so one of them can.
3 of them. I'm going to get more because
wow,
they're just. I mean, you know, there's not even any text in this. It's just.
Oh, that looks fantastic. Wow, that looks like a lot of heavy metal kind of material.
Yeah, it's quite similar.
And that predates Metal Hurlant by what, 2-3 years?
You know, the woman on
More
the cover
that,
going,
probably.
"Yes, master."
Now,
So
Metal Hurlant
she's rushing to this guy, and look at his nose. You can see why she's rushing to him.
Metal Hurlant, I think, kicked off in 73 or 74.
What? And what year was this?
This is 78.
70?
You know, 78.
Yeah. Oh, that's 78. Oh, that came after. That came after Metal Hurlant.
Wow.
I mean, it's just. I mean, it's.
I would have thought the dates would be flipped, but.
I mean, I got this for nothing. You know, it was. I can't show you some of this.
Was it 75 here, Kyle? That heavy metal premiered?
Yeah, 75.
Yeah,
it's 75.
It's, you know, it's not similar.
Funny, it was only 6 years old when Heavy Metal came out, the movie. Wow.
And then at the back, we get T-Rex Love.
Oh my God.
This last panel
my
here
eyes
says,
are scarred forever.
You know, there's a couple of dinosaurs making love, and at the end of it, she says, "Well, it's not surprising that we're becoming extinct."
That's, you know, in the last 10 minutes, we've seen more yellow in this podcast and talked about more yellow in this podcast than we have.
Yeah,
the entire podcast.
We can't have Matilda on this one. Matilda dog.
No, too much yellow.
Too much yellow.
Bill's in a yellow room, and if I slid into my room in there, it's a yellow room, and
that's crazy.
And then we didn't even get into the fact that, you know, Scott's collection of Avengers, which go to 1 to 502.
That just blows my mind.
1 to 502. Are there any creators from 1 to 502 that at some point you don't have their autograph on one of those books?
I mean, like Jack Kirby.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you don't have Kirby.
You know, I think I have. I'm missing Bob Harris. I have most of the major writers. So, like, I think I have all of the regular writers. Well, up till John Byrne, because I'm not a John Byrne fan. That's not one I've tried to track down. Yeah. I don't really care for John Byrne.
But you got Shooter, you got Thomas, you got.
Yeah, I've got like I must have over 50 issues of Avengers that are autographed by different people. Like I've got a lot of anyone that's worked on Avengers. I tried to get them to sign their Avengers work. So
I personally think Byrne's FF was second only to the Kirby and Lee and Kirby issues, but I mean, just because he captured the spirit. I'm not particularly crazy about his Avengers stuff, but I really love his Fantastic Four stuff.
I really dislike his Avengers work.
Do you really? Yeah. I'm not. He didn't. It's like he didn't put the same effort into it as he did the FF, but FF was like
But-
a love letter for, you know.
You've got the best Perez book signed by him, and it's a sight to behold. His
That's
Avengers
great.
collection is.
Yeah, I mean, the sad thing is I've been getting them signed long enough that a lot of the people that I, got signatures from aren't with us anymore.
Yeah.
I've
Stan Lee on one.
I've got Stanley. I've got a couple issues signed by Gil Kane. So and Perez, of course, but
And your most tattered issue there of 4 has the coolest damn story to it. So,
yeah, I mean, I got lucky when I was, collecting that it wasn't that expensive. I finished my complete run of Avengers while I was still in high school, and
Whoa!
I didn't. The only issues that I paid $20 for issue 3, and then like issues 11 to 16, I had to pay between $20 and $35 each for, but I didn't pay more than $10 for any issue in the entire run other than those.
That's crazy.
It's like I paid less than $10 for issue 9. My first copy of issue 8 was less than $10. All of those early issues, $6, $5. It was just a different time. My first copy of issue 2 was $10. So it was just a lot easier back then. Yeah.
Yeah, and the collection I had in the mid 80s is long gone into the wind, so I don't even talk about them anymore.
I've had number 1 twice, I have to say.
Surely he has Avengers 200 signed. I don't know. Do you? Is 200 signed?
Different copies of Avengers 200 that are signed, because one of them I was at a show and I had it signed by Terry Austin.
Whoa!
And then but I didn't have that copy with me when I was at a different show where I had it signed by someone else that like only worked on. I think Bob Layton maybe had something to do with that issue.
Bob Layton either wrote or drew that issue, but I think I remember Layton and Austin on that. I think you're right.
Yeah, so I have 2 different copies of 200 that are both signed by different people, even though that's like the worst issue of the run in some ways.
200.
Yeah, the rape issue or the R word issue, I guess.
Yeah. So I've got all sorts of people.
Yeah.
Sometimes I pull out issues of Avengers and I'm like, there's a signature on that. I don't even know who that is. But I've got I've got like what's his name? Dave Wenzel did a couple issues of Avengers. I've got his signatures on like 176 and 177, and Stephen Grant wrote issues 225 and 226. I've got his signatures on those. Like I've got some fairly obscure creators in terms of Avengers.
Stephen Grant's a nice guy. We got to have him on sometime. I'm sure he'd do the show.
I don't think JM wrote any Avengers though. That's a shame because I was going to say you got any JM DeMatteis on it, but
I don't think I've met him. I have.
He's a nice guy.
I have, I've got a run of Captain America as well from Tales of Suspense 58 to up to 454.
Yeah.
So I have his whole run on that, but I don't think I've met him anywhere.
So yeah, he was my big get on here.
Guys, I'm going to have to drop out because
I think I'm going to have to go as well.
Yeah.
I've got.
I am too, guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, mass exodus.
Well,
Good
it's
night. That's good.
and it's 11 o'clock at night in the UK now. So,
10 here.
yeah, 10.
Yeah, so I'm out because I've got an onboarding meeting for Whatnot. So I'm the 3rd person in the UK to get on Whatnot. So
What is Whatnot?
Okay.
Whatnot? It's it was set up about 2 years ago, based in the States, and basically it allows collectors to live stream sales of their collections.
Oh wow!
It's really big now. It's really big. Really.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, so I'm the 3rd person in the UK who sells comics to do that.
And Bill just disappeared.
No, my phone went off. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, good luck.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. It should be good. I might get a few comic sales. What I'm looking to do, which is nobody else is doing it, which is the other two guys just selling the same things they always sell. I'm looking to sell the type of stuff I've been showing you guys, which is the British stuff that is difficult to find in the States. You know, the Alan Class, the British comics, the Punch magazine, the Punch comics.
Yeah.
I just wonder whether there's an interest in the States for that sort of specialist stuff.
Oh hell yes, there is
from the UK.
Oh
you know,
yeah. We can't get it over here.
You can't get it over there.
You'd probably make a lot more over here than you would
that's $200 in the States.
I know, and my friend paid $250.
And I can get that for a fraction of that, and I can sell it for half the price that it's being sold for and make a nice profit. So
yeah. I'm glad I brought it up to you.
Well, yeah, you're getting it. You're getting
I have a copy, but I've never seen another one. And like 10 minutes later, he goes, "I have a gift for you," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah. But I have to admit, that is a really nice copy. That is
gorgeous.
As good a copy as I've seen.
Thank you so much. It is gorgeous.
Anyway, so I'm going to think about doing that. So doing a show from the UK, but actually for the American market, which nobody else is doing.
I think that's genius. What are you doing, Kyle?
Waving at Graham. He's all froze up, just putting his arm
Again?
out.
Oh, he's not like. Oh, there he is.
I think he's about to break into the Have a Great Amazing Day.
Scott, I'm going to drop you an email because I definitely want some of those comics, and I definitely want to promote them in the UK.
So, do I even need to plug you in, or do you have his email? You got?
I'm assuming it's going to be are the contact details below. I mean, I've got your Instagram stuff, and I've got your YouTube stuff, so I can probably. But if I would like your email, so I can just.
I don't think I put the louver in anything. So, do you want it directly at louver?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
okay, I'll send you that, Mark. If you don't have
it, possible.
Right.
Yeah,
because I'd like to talk to Scott about just getting some of those issues, promoting him.
I'll get you that. I'll get you that louver email, and I'll shoot that out to you. We'll wrap
Thanks,
up.
guys. Good show. Best show so
guys,
far,
as usual.
Best show so far.
Had a laugh. See you
I love those.
Rocky and Bullwinkle. Are Cheerios your favourite cereal, Bullwinkle? To be sure, Rock. Cheerios and milk give us people muscle-making protein. And lots of go, go, go! You mean everyone should go with the goodness of Cheerios? Yes, indeedy! But they should watch where they're going.